As you've heard, drug kingpin Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela, the chess player behind Colombia's most sophisticated cocaine empire, has confessed to flooding the world with tons of white powder. This is a historic day. Gilberto operated with impunity at the highest levels of the Colombian drug world, leading a syndicate that smuggled over 80% of the cocaine entering the United States and Europe. His partners were brother Miguel and Chepe Santacruz. They controlled corrupt officials who protected shipments. They used military weapons and hitmen to eliminate rivals. In the mid-90s, after Pablo Escobar's fall, a silent war erupted as Cali consolidated power through betrayal. Gilberto's network faced emerging factions. Two groups formed: chess players versus cowboys. From then on, Colombia, especially Cali, became a shadow empire. That dominance claimed thousands of lives, and it corrupted institutions. The government deployed forces to regain control. The city turned into a facade of legitimacy. Even with authorities present, expansion continued. Recruits were endless, the stakes were too high, and the conflict passed the point of no return. We chased ghosts, myths of invincible men. One was Gilberto. He spent his later years in a United States prison. After forging his syndicate for decades, he became Colombia's quiet overlord. With a fortune of $7 billion annually, he faced relentless violence. He urged restraint, saying nothing was gained by confrontation because it only widened divides. Despite that plea, his words were unlikely to halt the fallout. The situation kept spiraling. While successors battled, syndicates seized opportunities. Sensing vulnerability, they captured territories or made pacts with rivals. The rewards were immense. Cali was the hub of trafficking, with processing and shipping infrastructure. Whoever controlled that hub dominated the trade. Conflict extended beyond Colombia's borders. Affiliates reorganized throughout the country. Cali may have seemed untouchable, but efforts aimed for its dismantling. Despite captures, it remained dominant across the continent. The organization fostered corruption by bribing police, military, and politicians. Its reach traced back to his start as a young man, and it persisted. To grasp how Gilberto, Miguel, and their partners built a syndicate operating in dozens of countries by 1995, return to the beginnings. Cali was not just a city, it was the birthplace of cunning drug lords. The Rodriguez brothers led from there. The region between the Andes and the Pacific became, in effect, a Sicily for the mafia. Kingpins emerged here. Deeper into the valleys, a gray zone suited to a drug syndicate took shape. The trafficking lifestyle began with the coca leaf. Calinos exploited it, and it was processed into cocaine, destined for the United States. The cartel adapted to the 70s demand surge and enlisted thousands. Operations spread across Valle del Cauca. The area became legendary as the Emerald Corridor. It was not mere terrain. It was a natural stronghold that defied authority. The valleys were a sanctuary for lords, isolated and with the state largely absent. The region is larger than Belgium, more than 15,000 square miles. Hamlets sank into neglect. A parallel economy emerged. The drug trade became the only source of survival. Narcos acted as benefactors, creating jobs. The disparity was stark. Months of labor there could equal a year's work elsewhere. Traffickers bought every harvest and provided unmatched security. 70% of the cocaine was refined here. Youths dreamed of becoming narcos because only that meant success. 90% of certain syndicate leadership came from Cali. Boys were groomed daily, and a 15-year-old could already be an enforcer. The culture was clear. The operation was simple in outline: refine the drug, then transport it to the United States. Those fortunes attracted the ambitious. In the early 1970s, Gilberto became known as the chess player. A former clerk, at age 30 he turned to crime. His intelligence and business acumen made him a natural leader. At that time, there were no structured cartels, only simpler bands that had not yet partitioned the nation. Those groups struck covert agreements with elements of the government. Every gram moved with official approval. The military averted its gaze, and police provided escorts. DNS orchestrated the system. Agents collected an unofficial levy. Traffickers paid 60 per kilogram for that safeguard. Funds were redistributed. The governing principle was clear: drugs must leave Colombia. The state was not a victim, but an associate. Those who cooperated thrived, and those who refused were jailed. The mechanism operated quietly. The flow of cocaine flooded the United States. Washington pressed for action, and the government launched Operation Emerald in 1975. Funded by the United States, the campaign aimed to eradicate coca crops. The operation looked impressive, but it was a facade. Corruption warned the barons, and they began to relocate. Gilberto moved to Bogota. That relocation fortified his network, and the underworld was dawning. Operations resumed. Gilberto then sought to unite rather than fight. In the late 70s, the Cali Cartel was born, an alliance amplified output with DNS complicity. Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela reigned with Chepe and Pacho. The structure became a confederation. At the apex were Gilberto, Chepe, and Miguel. Below them stood trusted lieutenants like Victor, and at the base were operatives. The name Cali was deliberate. It was a hub for negotiations during a cocaine surge. Colombians monopolized the chain, and shipments were sent to Florida, though the West Coast remained a hurdle. An alliance with Calinos delivered cargo, and Calinos crossed the border. Commissions were paid per kilo. 20% by way of Colombia empowered the organization. Corruption grew, and syndicates grew richer. Individual loads were worth 15 to 40 million. That wealth was displayed in a Cali boom. Tensions arose around Pacho. He was subordinate at first, and then began operating under Chepe. In 1981, a dispute over a woman led to him being sent to the border, a supposed punishment that became an opportunity in northern Colombia. Main crossings were near cities. Pacho moved to a small town that became a proving ground. A mentor's asset was social savvy. He built bonds and moved larger quantities. In Cali, DEA scrutinized operations. In 1984, a raid near the corridor destroyed laboratories and produced the largest seizure. It followed long undercover work, and the reprisal was abductions and executions. It was the beginning of the end. Arrests followed, and DNS was dissolved. Gilberto lived openly. Pacho smiled as his shadowed rise continued. A mentor met his fate in 1987. A corrupt commander ran the operation. There was speculation that Pacho paid him. Pacho consolidated power and built an airline for transport. Suppliers pivoted to Cali routes. Demand was cut by 30 to 50%, and the impact was massive. Lieutenants developed networks. Miguel stood out. From a modest start, he rose with new ideas. With Pacho, he established key points and set up a corrupt military network. The goal was to move north. Each team received commissions, and the system funneled margins to intermediaries. It was not a single unified structure, but a mosaic of networks. Miguel was a mid-level lieutenant. In testimony, a lieutenant said he had 25 under his command and that he coordinated operations and bribes. He paid a commander 10 million. The commander became wealthy and corrupt and executed orders when required. Everything changed in 1995. Gilberto seemed untouchable, but he began to relinquish control. The commander acted under presidential orders. There was a certification process during an economic crisis that required cooperation to obtain aid. Capture became leverage. In June 1995, the commander was apprehended. There was astonishment at the betrayal, and the empire began to collapse. A meeting from prison divided territories and plazas were allocated. If the terms were followed, the cartel would have remained the most powerful. But discord erupted. Gilberto denied responsibility, and the commander was held responsible for stability. A brief truce failed, and ambition plunged the group into violence. Subordinates were underestimated, and many sought autonomy. Miguel developed routes. A tunnel example from 1990 was sophisticated. The tunnel cost 1.5 million and recovered 7 tons. The network earned trust. But division seeded conflicts, and frustration over plazas grew. Miguel held a grudge, and a sense of injustice fueled resentment. Once leaders were imprisoned, chaos followed. Miguel, Pacho, Chepe, and Gilberto formed the core of Cali, and their collaboration had been close. Then the First War began. If you found this fascinating, hit subscribe for more stories like this.